The following moments may contain explicit language.
Roger, Charlie, we're ready to rock.
Welcome to the SCFL Dugout Diaries, where today's guest is none other than Montpellier Villa first team manager Dave Baker. Now, Dave knows the ins and outs of grassroots football like few others, and he's been the heartbeat of Montpellier Villa for over 7 years, shaping the talent, leading the teams, and now stepping up as first team manager. He's a true club man through and through. Some would say controversial, others would say inspirational. He never shies away from criticism, whilst never shying away from taking the plaudits. He's known for his colourful after-match interviews and being able to shape the future of Montpellier Villa. David, welcome to the Dugout. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, Mike. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Now, Dave, you've been requested by a fair few people. You must have a bit of a following down there in Brighton and possibly at Culver Road as well. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, it's nice to be on the podcast, to be fair. I think it's the first time I think Villa's ever been on a podcast of any description. So it's nice to be able to raise the profile of what we're doing at the club and hopefully share some good stories and attract more interest in what we're doing.
Well, that was one of the things, to be fair, that highlighted Montpellier Villa to this podcast and to the SNF brand in the first place, because I'm seeing a lot more of your media presence, social presence. I think, this is why we started this off. We wanted to give exposure to teams in that way and get exposure back. That's how it is. But anyway, Dave, for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, who you are.
So I'm not originally from Sussex. I was born and bred in a place called Chatham in Medway, which is not the nicest of places, I'll be honest with you. But I grew up my whole life in Kent, and what brought me to Brighton was actually studying. So I came to the University of Brighton. I studied business management with economics, and during my time studying, I unfortunately lost my father when I was 18, and actually I grew in love with the place. And after I finished university, I couldn't help but stay. So that's what depicted me staying here. And just before I was 18, although I know we'll talk about my playing career, it was stopped short, which we'll go into in a bit more detail. But naturally, I've loved football since an early age. I'm an Arsenal fan myself.
Good. Well, that's good to hear. I'm a United fan.
Well, a lot of my dad's family actually comes from southeast London and actually comes from around the Woolwich area. So that's how a lot of the heritage of Arsenal comes back to me supporting them. And so I've studied business, stayed down here, built a career for myself. I work as a director for a construction recruitment company called Fortune Reeves, who the owner Ray has been amazing for Montpellier Villa as well, and sponsored us on various things, which has been fantastic and helped with what we've tried to achieve. But yeah, Brighton's the love of my life. I absolutely love it, and I love the community. I love the fact that I've got involved in football down here. It's when you live somewhere that you're not born from, you've got to get involved in the community, and football's a great way to do that. 100%.
I love that. Now, you're obviously a first-team gaffer down at Monte Villa. At the time of press that we are now, you've come into a bit of resurgence. You're starting to find some major form, some eye-catching results at the moment. That's obviously not by chance. That's come down to hard work. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in a minute. I want to really dive into Monte Villa. But you've got a bit of an interesting story, don't you, about your playing career that you got there. So where did you play, and how did it abruptly end?
So I don't know if people realise, but I'm an absolute nutcase in many ways. So I'm obviously a goalkeeper. I veered my game on Jens Lehmann. And if anybody's watched Jens Lehmann, they will know how much of a nutter he is. So it'll make a lot more sense now why I am the way I am. played at a decent level. So until I was, well, I played rugby and football, and I was quite good at both. But football became my interest, and as I got to about the age of 13, I was in Soccer Elite Academy, which is run by Danny. I always get mixed up between Danny and Lee Spiller, but I think it's Danny Spiller that runs Soccer Elite with Tony Brown, who was ex West Ham youth, and fantastic training that helped me push on. So I went and played for the likes of Maidstone, Ebbsfleet, Tunbridge Angels. Even got an opportunity to play and train for Leyton Orient's youth as well, because there was a link between my goalkeeping coach at Ebbsfleet and Leyton Orient, which was great. But Tunbridge Angels is where I stopped playing, because at 17, unfortunately, I got run over, shattered my leg in half.
You got run over?
Yeah, got run over. Weirdly enough, it was from a classmate of mine.
Right. So how did this happen? Was it?
I was walking back from school, to go and get a bus. I've literally gone across the road, just going around the corner, and my mate was speeding on his moped, going a lot faster than he should have been. Came around the corner and bang, there I was, caught my leg, fractured the frontal lobe of my skull, snapped my leg in half, and yeah, that as a goalkeeper, I think at the time when you're 17 as well, and you know, like I said to you, I was unfortunate to lose my dad at 18 with the accident a year before, and then losing your dad at 18, and being that age and being at university, it's very easy to have other temptations.
So you got run over. Your potentially successful playing career had ended.
Yeah.
You then lost your dad the following year. You're at university. How are you dealing with this mentally?
I'll be honest with you, I suffered with depression big time for a good couple of years. Took me a while to get out of it. It's easy when we have this, you know, people think that I'm a loud character, which I am, but believe it or not, actually in the dressing room, I'm probably one of the quietest, and unless it's that one, or you know, there's 4 or 5 times a season you need to give them a bit of a push at half time. But yeah, it was tough. It was the toughest time of my life, and it always will be. And it was football that actually saved me. Because I went back, I did a sandwich course at university. So I had my first 2 years of studies, thought, I want to go home, I want to be with my mum, I want to be back home closer to my friends. Went back, got an internship at Hayes Recruitment, which is one of the big recruitment companies. And I was there doing my job, and I used to do logistics, white collar recruitment, which is like finding logistics managers, transport managers. And I had an operations manager job alert come up, right, which I set up. But weirdly enough, football manager came up for a club called APM Holt Woods. APM Holt Woods is now, as we know it, K Sports, which are Bean County Prem in their part in Kent. They've also, I think they're Division 1 now. I think it's all fallen apart, the deal we done back then. But I saw a football manager for an under 15s team, and I thought, do you know what? I really miss football. And I had my level 2 coaching badge already, and I just called them up, and they said, really weird, that advert's a year old, but weirdly enough, the new manager's just had a row with the parent, and unfortunately, he can't continue as the manager. Could you come down and train them tomorrow evening? I went, yeah, no problems at all. Train the lads. They absolutely loved my training session. They were, weirdly enough, I've got a habit of taking teams at the bottom of a league. They were rooted to the bottom of the Kent Youth League. They were 7 games in. They had 0 points. They'd conceded 37 goals, and they'd scored something like 2 or 3 goals. I knew that after I agreed to take the job, by the way.
But you just wanted to get back into football. But can I drill back a bit, if that's all right?
Yeah, of course.
You've had this major accident.
Yeah.
You're starting to suffer with depression. It's in the middle of your studies. You lose a parent.
Yeah.
What kind of help are you getting? Are you talking to anyone? Are you getting any therapy? Or are you dealing with? I want to know.
Honestly, it took me to get arrested twice before I realised that I needed to do something. I got into fights. My dad always said, never be scared of making a mistake once. I made it twice. When I was on that bus home after being let out of custody, I was very, very lucky that what I did in the next 6-7 months of my life meant that the court at the time actually suspended all charges, saw that I was doing the right things. One of those was actually going to get cancer at the time, which was great for me. And it was, yeah, I found things talking very hard when I was younger. I don't want to, go into completely all my previous life history, but I had some certain things happen as I was growing up in my environment. Not from my parents. My parents were fantastic, but unfortunately they can't help some of the situations that happened. And although I've got half brothers and sisters, I was very much a lonely child, if that makes sense. So I
So
was,
you've had to get that anger out of you to find another way, to put you on
yeah,
another path. And it seems from where you are now, and thank you for being so honest about that.
that's
It
all right, mate.
seems from where you are now, your whole life took a great trajectory up.
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes
the other way.
you to hit the bottom of the barrel, you
Yeah,
know, to then say, well, fuck this, I've got to make a change. And
agreed.
you have. So cheers for sharing that, Dave.
That's all right, mate. No
I
problem.
do appreciate that. You obviously you've come out of university, you've seen this advert, you you've joined this team that are, a bit like the Mighty Ducks, bottom of the shop. You knew you were up for a challenge.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
First game we won 2-1 against third in the league.
I love the fact that you remember that.
It was against Corinthians away. And yeah, it was a fantastic day. We all got cheered off the pitch. The kids were absolutely loving it. And that was the day that those lads and I went on a massive journey. And we climbed 4 places in the league. We only conceded 36 goals in the next 15 games. And
You
they
sound
conceded 30.
you sound like you've got these stats right in the back of your head because you've obviously been proud of what you achieved. They
Yeah,
must have been, no disrespect, pretty poor at the time, I assume.
they've been poorly managed.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I
They've
do
been
like
poorly
that.
managed, and there was actually a really good group. And they were a fantastic bunch of lads to work with. And the following season, we went on to get fourth in the league. So
That's a
the
massive
season
change.
after, yeah, so it was fantastic, and they were a really really good bunch of boys. Obviously, we did improve a bit in the summer, of course, which goes with that. And at the time, these lads were overachieving because the great thing about the Kent Youth League is you've got this little club like APM Holt Wood playing Maidstones, Ebbsfleets, Dovers, Bromleys. It's great, especially for these lads. You
What's
go,
the standard like compared down? Because you've done a lot of coaching down
brilliant,
compared to
fantastic.
Sussex Youth. What's it like?
I'd say the Kent Youth League's much better than any under
Really?
18s league. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because where the only ones at the moment under 18s is Burgess Hill, really, of any significance. Where's Whitehawks under 18s in this division? Where where's Stellings? Do you get what I mean? Like Stelling, if they're obviously, I know they've only just gone up, but Broadbridge Heath, these are Isthmian clubs. These are where all the talent are. So what by doing that, you prevented all of these lads all being sucked up by these teams. Because actually, an APM Holt Woods, this is a Montpellier Villa, could compete with those teams at youth level, which means we can keep hold of them a couple more years rather than them all being saturated into these clubs where, when I was at Tunbridge Angels, when we were doing the under 18s, we had an Isthmian team and a Kent Youth League team. So we sucked everybody up.
Hmm. I
Do
get
you know
I
what
get
I
the
mean?
logic to that. I get the logic. So
It's
you
brilliant.
stayed there, then where'd you go to?
So, as with anything, you have sometimes some very busy parents who think they know it all, and they
Mm-hmm.
tried to attempt to take a lot of the players at the end of that season after getting fourth because he thought we should have won the league. But anyway, he tried to.
After you finish in near bottom the league before.
Well, put it this way: I brought a load of players over from a team called Vinters Park
Okay.
as well, so merged the two sides. Considering they finished eighth the season before, and he's thinking that suddenly his team and my team together should just win the league, blows my mind. But so at the end of that season, he tried to take a load to Sevenoaks. So my hand was getting forced, and Jay Stubberfield, who was a good friend of mine, was the under 18s Isthmian manager at Tunbridge Angels. So he asked me to come and be his right hand man in that team, run the Kent Youth League team, and it meant that we could bring the players over, the ones he was trying to take to Sevenoaks. And then we went to Tunbridge Angels, which sort of counteracted what he was trying to do. It was a great year for us. I mean, me, Jay, we won the Isthmian Youth League, which was the year that Jude McDonald was also an under-18s manager for Whitehawk. We played him in 2 finals. So we
Wow.
played Jude in the Super League Cup, which was the champions of the 4 divisions. You've got the Isthmian Youth. We won ours, they won theirs. So we played them in the Super League Cup final, which we won. and they beat us in the Isthmian League Cup final. So I know Jude really well. Great to see what he's doing at Eastbourne Town as well. So absolutely fantastic job. And also we won the Kent Youth League and we won the Kent League Cup. So we did the quadruple that year. It was a fantastic year. And that was when Steve McKim was the men's manager, and he took 4 of our players that year into the men's team, which was fantastic.
Well, that is a hell of a youth CV. You know, to win a couple of trophies, let alone quadruples, and that is fantastic. What badges did you do?
I did my UEFA in my last year at uni. So UEFA, that's where I'm at.
How did you find it?
Honestly, I found it easy. So
Okay.
I love the game. I really study the game in every inch. And we'll come on to some mad things. I've got some mad ways about me. I'm pretty batshit crazy, to be fair. But badges are just badges. You can have people with UEFA Bs that can't coach, right?
100%.
And there are people without a badge that can coach. When Kev Green first came to Montpellier, he didn't have any badges. He'd been out and working all abroad and doing loads of different things with professional academies. A badge is just a badge.
Okay, I like that. So at what point then do we get round to Montpellier?
Yeah. Well, like you said, I had a good youth CV, didn't I? Right? But applied to loads of clubs in Sussex, and weirdly, not one of them came back to me.
Because for the people that don't know, Montpellier Villa have been around since the early 90s, I believe. This is about 1991. Yeah. Team based in Brighton, currently in the SCFL Div 1.
Yeah.
Luckily, play their games at Sussex FA headquarters, Culver Road. Fantastic 3G pitch, one of the best around. So how did you get there, pal?
Well, this is the greatest thing. Like I said, I applied to loads of clubs that realistically level sort of standards, county prems, Isthmian clubs around Sussex. I didn't get any responses. And Montpellier Villa advertised themselves so well at the time. It was Gary Please, who's the founder of Montpellier Villa, owns a marketing company, so always been very, very good with the profile and raising Montpellier Villa's status. And I saw them. I didn't know anything about them. And it got to a point where I thought, I'm going to put an application into them just to say, look, I want to volunteer, I want to get involved in football. As I said to you, my career I've done very well in my career, so I needed a perfect balance. For my first year of recruitment, I was leaving work and then going back to manage Tunbridge Angels. Do you get what I mean? So it was nuts. I was living in Sussex and pretty much might as well have lived in Kent. So I couldn't maintain that. That wasn't feasible, especially with my partner. It was important to make sure I had the time for our relationship, and so we Montpellier Villa got in touch with me, and I just went along and started helping out. This was when Simon Whitney was running the team. You had the players like Josh Tompkins, Ryan Walton, and then I actually got involved in my first year helping a guy called Tony Dane, who is our women's manager. Now, who's taken over from Skip, and our first season. Wow, that was an experience. We managed the under 14s or 15s. Bloody hell, it's so long ago now, and they had a bunch of players playing a year up the year before that were very talented boys, and they won their division and got promoted. And that summer, they lost all those players. And it was a complete rebuild. We got 1 point that season. It was 1 point, but you know what? One of the most rewarding seasons. These players were nowhere near good enough for that standard in that league, but those lads turned up every single week to listen. And I can tell you now that every single one of those players was a better footballer by the end of that season. And we got our point on the last game of the season, and that was just absolutely brilliant for those boys. And it was a real experience, especially for me as a coach.
How are you dealing with those boys? And in obviously certain situations, possibly girls as well. How are you dealing with them if it's defeat each week?
What do you do if you keep getting defeated in life? Do you give up?
No.
Exactly. So this is about life lessons for these boys. This is about teaching them that no, it's not easy. Life's not easy.
Did the parents buy into that?
Because they saw improvement in every single one of those players, and all of those players improved. There was a lad called Lucas. He ended up playing holding midfielder for me at the end of towards the end of the season. He was incredible. Like he really lacked any sort of knowledge of how to play a game of football. By the end of it, he was breaking up play. He was winning the ball. I'll give you an example. Before I took over that team with Tony, I was the coach. He was the manager, but he basically gave me full autonomy. They lost 17-0 to Settlescombe in the summer at a pre-season game. Right?
Wow.
We lost to them in a cup game, right? A cup game, and it was funny because the manager said he thought we played better in the summer. Hilarious. We got beaten 6-3.
So you only got beaten by 3 goals in theory.
Yeah, I won't
so
lie.
That's a plus 14 swing.
Yeah, I know Tony did say that he's never seen a team play like they're from Serie A and literally completely play a defensive masterclass, which it was. And yes, we didn't play any football whatsoever, but we still managed to score 3 goals.
So, Dave, now start telling me then about the Villa journey, the Monty Villa journey.
With anything, when I was younger, I was well, I'm still crazy, but I was even more mental, if I'll be honest with you. But so 6 months into my time at Villa, along came Kevin Green, who obviously has gone on to do fantastic stuff with Steading, obviously now Hayward Heath gaffer. And obviously it was really nice the fact that I was in a club which I wasn't used to in many ways, because it felt a bit like a park team. The whole club felt a bit park-like in its mentality, which is understandable. It was a Brighton League football club for many, many years. And, we didn't have our own stadium. Everything is, either we're at Falmouth Sussex Uni or we're borrowing a grass pitch or whatever it may be. And so when Kevin came in, it was refreshing, because this is a guy who played football at a good standard, coached at a good standard, and just all the stars started to align, and suddenly there was people at the club that wanted to take this club a bit further forward, and we could, because obviously Division 2 meant that if we can get the right ground, we can go up. But obviously there was a few bumps in the road, but along the way I helped out in roles as being Kevin's coach in the under-18s. I've helped out with the under-23s, in the men's team with Kevin. I sort of played a bit of a role of everything, My main...
Sorry, do you think he'll do well at Hayward Heath?
Look, at the end of the day, I think Kevin's a fantastic football manager.
I don't know him. I don't know.
But like with anything, there are good managers that do bad at clubs, and there's bad managers that do well. And I think, if Kevin manages to get his identity and his playing philosophy across to those players quickly enough, then they will do very, very well.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. That's all.
But look, in all the roles I played, the most important thing that I wanted was to be able to coach football players. The fact that I had with my work every Wednesday night, I got to get down on that training pitch and work with football players and improve them, and that's all I cared about. Then, if I get to the game, is just a product of what you do in the week and the training. You get to see all the different patterns you work on, the different information you give the players, and that's the fun. The game day is the fun. It's the bit that I enjoy the most. But in terms of seeing the product of what you work on in training, but. So as time went on, we unfortunately had COVID that hit us, and in those couple of years, Villa was winning the league by an absolute mile in Division 2. The season got stopped. Then we started again, a new season. We weren't performing as well, because I think we were a bit hungover from the fact that we should have gone up. But then the season then got curtailed again, but we had the best points per game, and we went on to win the Division 2 League Cup that year before we got into the league. But unfortunately, after our first season in Division 1, and I'd offered before to the club to help out in roles behind the scenes, but because I was maybe a bit crazy, I was younger. Sometimes people don't necessarily look at that young, crazy lad. And they probably should have got me involved a bit earlier in doing all of that stuff. But the club was in financial ruin. And there's not one finger you can point it at, if I'll be honest with you. But ultimately, it got to a situation where the club was near on going to just completely disappear.
What at the time were you at Culver Road then?
Yes.
Because, it doesn't take an economist to work out that that's going to cost you a lot of money per.
And if it is
game,
you need to put a lot of effort in order to bring money into the football club
in
order to make that sustainable.
So talk to me about how it became sustainable, because to me, the maths ain't mathing. I know how much roughly, and that's your business, how much it costs to hire that pitch out. Obviously,
Yeah.
you hire it out over a season. There's going to be a deal there and everything like that. And obviously, at the same time, Lancing want the revenue in there, or Sussex FA want the revenue. So tell me how you made one of the most expensive pitches around, and quite possibly one of the best, your home, and became sustainable. Because, like I said, the maths ain't mathing.
We're not sustainable yet.
Okay.
We're not there yet. I find it funny because there's a lot of people that go around saying that I'm the one completely putting all of the money in, which absolutely makes me laugh, if I'll be honest with you.
I have heard that, and this is what you put in the way. I've heard that it's you and one other fella that helps keep the club afloat. Let's say.
Look, I'll be lying if
Is there any truth in that?
I'll be lying if I say I didn't invest in the football club.
Yeah.
I do, but I think what you've got to look at is look at what we're doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the socials. We're getting more interaction than some Isthmian football clubs are getting on their social media platforms.
I can agree with that. I've seen it. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's about having a clear idea of what you're going to do. Similar to what Mark White had with Dawkins, same as what #United have done. You've got to be innovative. You've got to be fresh. You've got to be modern. You've not got to be stuck in the dark ages like some of these old people running football clubs that really think that football clubs are still run on gentlemen's agreements. It's about inclusivity. It's about showing that you're not only pushing the football club to go up the pyramid, but you're still a community football club. It's about showing how you're going to raise the profile of your sponsors as well, and showing that there's a clear vision. If you do all of those clear things, then a lot of what I've done has just been through networking and bringing in good sponsors. SSC Services, one of the payroll companies I use. Sapphire Accounting, one of the payroll companies I use in my line of work, have been fantastic. Our chairman, Kevin Rowe, A1 Car Search, his company there that sponsored my company. My own director of my company, Fawkes and Rees, has done stuff. We've had Russell Chilvers. You know, look at all the sponsors that we put across our platforms. You don't have to be, don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out. We bring money in sponsors, really, but we can't do that for too long in terms of the amount that we do. It's just not possible.
I like that because you got the right idea of how it's easy to have a sugar daddy and someone that piles the money in, but you're at least trying to spread those wings more, give those sponsors something that they could potentially get back. You got a lovely following, especially on X. Over 3,000 followers on there, regularly putting it in. Your social media is bang up there now with some of the best. It actually puts a lot of the teams in some of the higher leagues to shame. So I see where that law from the corporate side is. Dave, tell me, if you had to put a figure on what it costs to run a team like Montpellier for a season, got to be looking at 60, 70 plus, yeah?
No, not quite as high as that.
Is it close to there? It's got to be
about 40, 45.
Okay. Then that is a lot better than I thought it was.
It's like I say, it's about being sustainable what you do. Like at the moment, Kevin and the chairman and I, we bought our own presser so that we can press all of our own kit.
Right. I didn't know that. Talk to me about these crazy other things you're doing leading the way. Tell me about that.
We've got our own presser, so then we can go and buy a wholesale kit on clearance, buy it a lot cheaper, and then press our own kit. Saves a fortune. People going out paying £45 a unit for a full tracksuit. We're paying £22. Like these are how you make things more sustainable. That's what sustainable is about.
Love that. What else are you doing there? Because you're the first club I've come across that has said that willingly or unwillingly. You said that, and I think
don't get wrong. It's
a fantastic idea.
It's hard work because it's very, very hot. And what you end up finding is my missy walking into the front room with me and my boxers because it is so bloody hot in that room. Whilst I'm pressing this kit, it's just so hot. It's mental, right? And as you press it, you're going, why did I agree to do this? Do you know what I mean? Right? But
you're looking at every foundation of the club. I understand you don't have the bills, the energy bills, things like that, the business rates, everything like that, because obviously you're using Culver Road. And we'll come on to something about potentially if you move away from Culver Road in a minute. But what kind of bills do you have if you're not there? I mean, obviously you've got. Do your players pay to sign on or anything like that? Because I'm assuming you are not one of the clubs that pay a little bit of bunts, are you?
So there's many different ways you've got to look at it. Every football club is structured in many, many different ways.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the football club at Villa, there'd been a breakdown of trust before I came in. So the club is actually, although we look from the outside as one club, we do run ourselves quite independently in certain sections, which allows us to reduce the amount of workload that we have on the people that are doing tasks internally, because they're all volunteers. So, you know, the senior section men's, the under 23s, the under 18s, both under 18s teams come under my section.
Okay.
Obviously, but I'm about the whole club, not just obviously my section. So we act as an independent financial entity. Look, it makes me laugh when people, you know, unfortunately, we're a product of the environment that we're in. You've got teams in our league paying stupid money to players that aren't even worth half a carrot.
Agreed.
Ridiculous. Would I be sitting here now?
I'm the geezer that asks these questions because no one else has the balls to ask them. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not going to mention names, but I know people on your podcast who said they're not paying money and it's absolute rubbish. So absolute tosh. And I know that. And they can keep saying it till the cows come home. Just admit it. Yeah, we pay a little bit. Wait a minute. I'm not going to deny it. Yes, we do. But I'll do it in a way that is sustainable, but also is not about the player. It's for the benefit of the football club.
I love that.
Simple as
I love that. I love the fact you're refreshing and answering these questions. So let's dig into a few more questions. Now, you've come back to the club, okay? In the last, was it November? You come back? Was it around there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it was
okay.
November.
Now, I knew one of the previous coaches there. Tomo, Lee Thompson.
Yeah.
Good guy. You know, known him for 25 odd years. He felt that it didn't end as well as it could have with him in there. I know he was working a lot with the 23s and then progressed into the first team.
Oh, no, he came straight into the men's. He was actually offered the 23s manager role by myself, which he turned down. So after Paul Fowler went to Saltdean. Look, I think Tomo, and look, this resurgence hasn't got everything to do with me, by the way. Can I just have this straight? Like, this is to do with the work of Tomo and Sarge before me as well, when they dealt with one of the most difficult situations that I think I've ever seen. I got let down massively by players breaking promises. At the end of last season, when we rebuilt that squad in February for basically to get the right balance of attitudes to continue into this season, we rebuilt that squad in February. If you look at some of our results towards the end of last season, we were getting some big results. We were taking Wick to the sword at one point, right? Went away from home. I've never done that in my whole time of managing against them away. Always been a bogey flipping ground for me, right? And we rebuilt that squad, and then all of them went and flipping just, off to here, off to there, a few more quid here, a few quid here, blah, blah, and asking for ridiculous demands. And unfortunately, there's not every manager that has to do so much off the football pitch. That with my work and everything, I couldn't rebuild that squad. I didn't have the time to rebuild that squad. I was done. And mentally, I was fatigued after 2 really engrossing years of keeping them up in the first division and then trying to get them into a playoff spot, which didn't quite materialise. But Tomo and Sarge dealt with the most difficult situation. And about 6 to 8 weeks before I came back, I was working with Sarge to help him rebuild that squad. And it wasn't all me. But with anything, football is changing a little bit. And I think you need energy. And even when it's getting tough, you need to be positive. And if it had gone well for Sarge and Tomo and they picked up more points, I would have not have returned this season.
That's fair. That's a fair one.
I would have returned. But the result against Infinity, seeing that group of players that was on that football pitch, I saw them not responding. And I knew that I needed to come back to help them.
Let's look at how long ago was that? I've got your things in here. Yeah, 3-0 at home. 5th of the 11th, 5th of November. Bonfire.
And that team, and if you look at the match squads, I think, which I'll go on to one of the players in a minute, but it's had.
I'm looking at it now.
Did it have Tycon Burzilov in that team?
Who?
T-Con, T-Y-K-H-O-N.
Oh, T-Con Berlizov.
Well, you've got him in. If you got him there, you shouldn't be losing 3-0 to infinity with him just alone. And if people start putting approaches in, they're getting refused immediately.
That's unfortunate. That's one of the things about this podcast. I hear about.
Oh no, I know, but don't worry. He's well. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
All right. Okay. You seem great about answering tough questions. Now, I want to ask you something I'm not sure you're going to be able to answer. I've known for a long time that you are moving premises, moving house. Okay. Now,
we didn't have a house in the first place. We've just been renting the whole time, mate.
You were renting, but I hear, and I think I've known for at least a couple of months now, the old Southwick FC ground, which is synonymous with local football there, massive history there.
Massive.
I've heard a rumour that you're going to be the next tenants of that. Can you confirm or deny on the Dugout Diaries podcast today that will be happening?
It's not going to be a traditional agreement in the sense that we are the ones running the lease, but we are going into a very tight and more sustainable partnership with an organisation at Old Barnway, yes.
Is that Russell Martin?
Yes.
Yeah. It's only because I've done some work with Russell Martin Foundation before.
I was just very fortunate that Alan Sanders, who did the agreement with APM Holtwood when they switched to K Sports, is exactly the same guy that's doing it at Russell Martin. It's weird how just life has cycles like that. It's just crazy. I'm in Kent 1 minute, I'm in Sussex the next minute, and there's Alan Sanders again. I'm thinking, really?
But the way I look at it, that is the perfect ground for Montpellier Villa to again grow as a club.
And I want to make it clear, right, that this isn't about us and Southwick. This isn't about us trying to be better than Southwick. And I just want to make that really, really clear. You know, it's down to how football clubs are run, and they're so hard to keep sustainable. And how many clubs are you? There's less players that were getting involved in football after COVID, for example. It was so hard for football clubs. We've just done enough of the right things as a football club in order to make us that attractive option. And I'll be honest with you, I think we're the best offering in Brighton for football. Facts. I think we can be bigger than Whitehall. I genuinely believe that. I think we can be bigger than Burgess Hill one day. I think we can be bigger than Hayward Heath. Our catchment is much bigger than all of theirs put together. Steadings, we can be bigger than all of them. People don't understand. To have a BN postcode and be where we're going to be and be far more creative, far more modern, far more with the times. I mean, look at Whitehall. Look at what they could do. They've got all that massive car park up the top, but yet they keep that crap pitch. It's mental. It's mental. Like they're running it like a bunch of cowboys. 1 minute they're getting rid of Shaw, the next minute they're bringing it back in. What did you want? Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy. And I'm being honest with you, right? If we get this right, in 5-10 years' time, football's about legacy. All I wanted to do is create legacy. You're either winning stuff or you're creating legacies. Look at the likes of Letitia at Southampton and what he done there. Totti at Roma. Do you get what I mean? It's about legacy, and sometimes it's not just about winning a trophy. It's about creating something for the future.
Wow, that is one hell of a statement. And do you know what? The listeners ain't going to see this, but I see this. I'm looking in your eyes. And you ain't talking bullshit either. You talking like you fucking want that. You mean that.
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean?
I do.
You actually look like a bit like an assassin from the film Hitman.
More fool those clubs for not looking at my CV when I sent it to them when I came down here, right?
I like that. Maybe that's a bit of, that gives you a little bit extra to want to show them, hang on, you might have missed out on something here. And
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
So, but going back to the Southwick thing, I think that region, that community there, has been crying out for someone to come back in there. You know, they had great days in Southwick days, but it's not about that. It's about that community. They had somewhere where they would go, somewhere on a Saturday or a Tuesday night, have a beer, burger, watch a game of football. You've got a chance now to take up I wouldn't say a new market because you're not too far from them anyway, but I'm saying a market that was already there that you can reliven again. Yeah?
It's all about the Southwick community, and we want to make sure that they want us to be a part of their community, and it's really important that we connect with those people, find out what their stories are, find out what they used to enjoy, find out the things that gave them those comforts, and we've got to make sure that we recreate those.
So how is it? Is it for next season you're going to be going in there?
But with anything, plans sometimes don't come together on time. But we have our action plans in place to ensure that for whatever eventuality, we will be able to manage those situations. And we've got all of the stuff that we need to make sure that if we aren't there from the first game of the season, because sometimes things get delayed in construction, that's part and parcel of it. We've got plans in place to protect the club.
Do you think there's a lot of work that needs to be done? Because I mean, I went past the train the other day, and it definitely needs a mow, that place. So what's going on?
Of course it does, but it's not going to be a grass pitch. So it's going to be a full brand new football stadium. And luckily enough, in my line of work, the contractor that's one of my biggest clients is the same contractor delivering the project. So I'm very, very closely linked to it, and he'll be making sure he gets regular calls from me weekly to ensure that that program is sped up as quickly as possible.
Love that. And do you have any idea of how you might want to engage in that community, reignite that community, let's say? You got any ideas?
I think the first thing is create a forum, an opportunity to meet everybody from that community and find out what they want. There's no point me just talking about things and coming up with ideas. I'll have ideas, of course we will. But those ideas sometimes can be on the basis of the ones that are presented in front of you, and being creative with those. I think the key thing is just about, I hate the fact that we charge the money we charge at Culver Road. Don't blame me, blame Sussex FA. Don't look at me, right? It's
well, what
mental.
Is it? What is it about? It's about £400 a game, isn't it?
I'm not going to go into specifics. I don't think that's right. I've signed a contract with them, and I don't think that's right to start talking about what we pay. But it's not £400.
It's not £400.
It's not £400. But it's less than that. But I don't think it's fair.
No.
I've signed a contract with them, and I wouldn't expect them to talk about stuff about us either. So, but the reality of it is that whatever we do at Southwick is going to be far more sustainable.
Absolutely. And will that then drill down to the youth as well? Will you look to add more? No. Okay.
No, the whole lot, the whole thing. I think the aim is that we've done a partnership with their youth to create a pathway for them.
Good.
Because they've got no pathway, so their under 16s are going to be becoming our under 18s Mid Sussex side next year.
These are big plans. These are big. You know, these kind of plans haven't just fell out the back of a cracker at Christmas. You know.
Well, the thing is, when I came over, I was talked about the club wanting to go to Brighton Rugby Club and doing a partnership with them. And this was talked about for years before I got involved off the seats. Well, not a load of rubbish that was. That was never going to happen. It just wasn't going to happen. I turned around to the club and said, you've got two choices now. Either we find another solution or we take them out of the county league. We put them back to Mid Sussex and sustain yourself at that level. Charge your players. Don't bother with this big plan. And creative thinking brought us to the situation that we're in. And has now meant that the club has the opportunity to continue with their, what we call that academy side of the, pushing the club up the league side of things. But we're still doing the community. We brought a twos team back for the first time this year. We want a threes team next year, because when they're kicking off at 2:00, they're finishing their game before we finished our game at home out in the Wreck out in Southwick. And then they're in the bar before we've even got in the bar. Bosh, you've got like 60, 70 people in there.
Similar thing happens in the Mid Sussex with a team called Ringmer AFC. You know,
there you go. You've got it exactly the same.
They've got a great community there, a great social.
Well, imagine Ringmer were bigger than Lewis. It was only because they couldn't manage themselves that Lewis stole all of their fans in the first place.
Fair point. That one. Okay, so these are massive plans. Monte Villa are obviously on the way up. Okay, and I'm not just talking in the league because you've had a resurgence of results. Let's be honest. Let's drill into this team now. Let's drill into where you are, because I tell you what, you've been fucking honest all the way through. So I'm just going to ask anything here now. Right,
go on.
Setting a bottom. You're on 20. You're halfway through the season, just over halfway through the season.
Yeah.
You win your game in hand. You go third from bottom. You've got some games coming. Let's look at it.
The reality is you're looking at the league table.
You know what I'm going to ask you? I know. Are you going down or are you staying up? I know you're going to tell me you're staying up, But I'm gonna
The
have a look
reality is, you've looked at the league
your
table
next
more
three
than I've
games.
looked. You've looked at the league table more than I've looked at it because I've not even looked at it yet.
Yeah, well, I have to do a bit of research in this game now. I don't have to turn
Look,
up and just stick some headphones on. Right,
as
let me
I
look
said
at your
to,
next games. You've
go on.
got your own to Storrington at the weekend.
Yeah,
Okay. It's always going to be a tough game, but your own.
great coach there, by the way. Great coach. Played them in
It-
pre-season last year when they were in Division 2 before we went into season. Great style of play. Could see what he was going to do. No surprise they're in this division.
Got a lot of time for Storrington. Now, this will go out to press after that, but it'll be in time for Reigate Priory. And I've just had Dale White on. Guy similar to you, seems to be a football obsessive. Seems to be knows his stuff. That should be quite an interesting clash on the sidelines. That's a winnable game though. Absolutely.
All games are winnable.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Then you've got Dorking. That's going to be tough, but at least you're not playing them at theirs.
Are we at home or away?
You're at home, but then again, they play on a 3G as well.
Yeah.
Then
I'd like to win there again.
Then you've got a tough. You got to go away again. You're on 3G. You're away at Cotform again. That's a massive game for you. And then at home to Seaford. So look, you've got a massive chance in the next 4 or 5 games. And I ain't going to put the burden on you. You could be getting out of trouble by the time we get into Valentine's Day, let's say. What are you thinking?
I don't want to jinx anything, if I'm being honest. Look, straight up, I haven't looked at the league. I focus game by game. That's why I asked you if Dorking was home or away, because I don't look that far ahead. The group that we've got, if we focus on our own house, if we focus on our own stuff, if we focus on playing the football that I know that we can play, and this is no disrespect, Forest Road, for example, first half, we were dreadful. And people laugh. Look, one of my greatest things is sometimes speaking to the players about the dreams that I have. I've dreamt that we're going to be out of trouble by the end of February. I've dreamt that we're actually going to get one more point than I got in total last season, which is 43 points. And I know that this team is better than what I had last season, and we can play better football. I got it wrong against Forest Row in the first half. We're setting up in the shape that I did. I knew I should have gone 4-2-3-1. I changed it at half time. And we made Forest Row look a very, very, very average side, regardless of the great players that they got in their team. And that's
a big statement.
They were on the back foot.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to going to East Grinstead's, and I'm looking forward to putting on a show. And we will, because this team can take it to any side in the league. They've now found their confidence. It's
Does
about now being
Does that
consistent.
come from you? Because you seem to be a guy there that is... You're not thinking about... You have a positive mental attitude. You're not thinking about losing or anything like that. Is this drumming through to your players? Do they believe you, or do they believe in themselves? Who is it?
They believe in themselves, but they also believe that I'm going to help them and do the best by them. For example, my first game back in charge, which was against Chessington away on a Saturday, I booked him with Ladies Mile, who were great over there. We did a breakfast for them and conversation about tactics before we went up. We do regular team.
Tell me about this. This is good. Yeah, go on.
So we met up early. I got a full breakfast put on for them. We sat down and talked about the tactics and the shape. They get a booklet in regards to the shape, what we do on and off the ball, their personal responsibilities in their positions, to giving profiles on each position and what we expect from those players in those roles in that formation. And it's a good chance for them just to talk to each other. We did 2 truths, 1 lie, for example, where they've got to stand up and tell us 2 truths about their life, and also 1 other that's a lie, and we've got to guess it, which is a good laugh. Then we do Teams calls about the mental side of the game, psychology. It's so important. Psychology is the most important.
Outside of training, yeah.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Wow. Okay. This is something I haven't heard too much of, especially in our league.
And their buy-in and their take to this has been fantastic. I've got this thing. I don't care who you are in my team, what your status is. If you don't run, you come off. I did that to a player in the 30th minute against Chessington. That player went, that player, I spoke to him. He didn't moan, didn't cry. Yeah, okay, at first he was annoyed and frustrated, but he saw the whole point about it. Now we've actually got GPS trackers, so they can't hide on how much they run. So that's one of the other things that's really helped us, because we can show the player the data, their heat maps, where they're on the pitch. And for example, I'm not going to name players, but against East Preston, the most one player run was 6.6k. The least someone run was 6k. Against Chessington, the second game, the most a player run was 10.4k. The least was 9.2k. That tells you why we beat Chessington 5-2. That's why we beat Chessington 5-2. And that's the whole thing. It's about all the small details.
And you were 1-0 down at half time.
We was, yeah. So we scored 5 goals in one half. Absolutely destroyed them. And there was a little bit of laziness at the end where they're just getting a little bit cocky and we conceded a goal. But they were fantastic. They really, really were. We do focus on the small details, little things like Sussex FA. Why is the home dugout on the left-hand side? Like, it should always be by the right.
I absolutely hate that.
No way am I going to let you come to my ground and have the linesman next to you. Are you joking? Like,
why is that, by the way? Why is that?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Mate, if I'm the home pit, if I'm the home team, and you going that way, that I say it's just superstition. People laugh. You know what I'm trying to achieve. It's about small details, and we focus on as many small details. When my player, I'll give you if a player, for example, has done everything, I'm an attacking player, and he's got in that shooting position, and he's missed loads and loads of chances. Well, at least he got there. Right, when he's down and depressed if we've lost the game, I'm the first person on the phone to him that night telling them, mate, don't worry about it. I live and breathe it. It's like with sales and recruitment. It's a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. I enjoy this lifestyle. And I know, and this is a bold statement, I can go a lot higher. But at this moment in time, I love the work-life balance that I get with Montpellier Villa. And I want to, now I've started this project, I want to leave a legacy. And I want to, in 10 years' time, whether that's with either I want to go with that club and take them up that far, or if, unfortunately, sometimes ambition goes a little bit further than the moment that you're in. Sometimes you do have to look at new challenges. But for now, until Villa is sustainable and in the county prem at the very least, then my job isn't done.
Mate, look, you've got a clear vision. I'm excited to see where this goes. I really am, because either you're some kind of mad scientist, like batshit bonkers geezer, who is on the sideline shouting abuse that's living in his own effing world, or you've actually got a plan, a thorough plan, that you've been keeping it like, looking a bit like a Bond villain in the background there, waiting precariously to pull this out. And to be honest, it's working. So you've got plans in place for next season as well. Can't fault that. You've talked about how you're making it sustainable. Can't fault that. You've talked about a lot of stuff. One thing we ain't talked about is some of these players. Well, Dave, now, finally, I want to drill into this squad. Yeah?
Yep.
I'm going to pick 5 or 6 players out.
Yeah.
The ones that I feel caught my eye.
Yeah.
I just want a sentence or so on each one. All right?
Yeah.
I want you to be as truthful as possible. But then again, you've said all that all the way through anyway. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, because you have a ridiculous amount of players signed up.
Probably the most in Sussex, I reckon.
Oh, well, I'm looking at it, and you've got over 70 players signed on. But the first boy I want to talk about, Tikon.
Yeah, Tikon Basilov.
Talk to me about this lad, because I reckon I've seen this boy, and I reckon he's a level above, mate.
It shouldn't be playing for me, but if you give players, if you help players improve, they want to play under you, and that's what we're doing with T. He's studying at Sussex University. He's from Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Yeah, he played semi-professional in Austria, so he's actually played against Rapid Vienna, which, if we all know, is a very, very good Austrian team. Is an absolutely fantastic football player, and he has the right mentality. By the time I finish with him, I'll help make sure that he goes up a couple of levels, not just one level, a couple of levels, but be able to go up a couple of levels and stamp his mark.
Looks like an ever-present Joe Kinsman.
Industrious, hardworking, honest, a dream to manage. He sacrifices himself for the team, and we're just trying to help him also improve his attacking output in terms of numbers, but that will come with time. He's a young player.
about Christian and
Interesting to have to fight for his place. I've tested his character. Louis Crozier Flats has been typically my starting striker before he went away for Christmas. He's a university player, but Christian, I sent him away to go and play in the twos team because he was coming on not making much of an impact. Goes and scores 2 goals there, makes a massive impact against East Preston when he came on, it's great to see what he did against Chessington. Really great assist, really good goal. He's a confidence player. He's a big softie. And we're just wrapping our arm around him and trying to help him believe in. He's got all the attributes to be a fantastic player and go up another level. We've just got to get it out of him.
And I want to talk about my old teammate as well. The old fella. He won't mind me saying this. Dave Sharman. Listen, that guy, and look, me and him played centre half back together back in the Lancing days, something like that. What that guy's done in Sussex football and still doing it at the moment. When you see him, tell him he needs to stop soon, otherwise that ticket's
45. 45.
I know, mate. I know. Do you know what? When I saw him playing a couple of months back, I wondered whether it was a Vets game. But credit to the lad there, he is still doing, and he looks as fit as a butcher's dog, doesn't he?
Mate, it's incredible.
What are you not feeding him all over there?
Mate,
chance.
Mate, a Rolls Royce plays the game in slow-mo. I've had to help him and put the right attributes around him in order to offset the weaknesses that obviously come in his game, and that's obviously speed. He'll admit that as well. He's as slow as anything. But if you put the right players around him to cover, his football intelligence changes. Before, he used to be more of a sweeping defender. He's more now of he's now more of an instigator than a sweeper. I let him instigate and let other people sweep for him, and that's how you get the best out of Shah.
When you see him, tell him I said hello. Good guy.
I will do.
Pick a couple out that I haven't mentioned.
Pick out a couple that you haven't mentioned. I think one of the ones I'd probably like to bring up is a young lad that we've had since 16. He's a guy called Seb Courtois. Well, you're probably going to tell me I pronounced his surname wrong, but I remember last year I tested him. He didn't start many games under me, but I gave him a lot of minutes at county football last year. And it's great to see that he's really come on, and the work that we've done with him over these years has meant that he now has an opportunity to start more games than not. And it was really nice to see that. Before, I used to play him in a more of like an 8 or a 10, because he wasn't trusted to play that dictating 6, which he was at youth level, who can win the duels, intercept the ball and play and dictate the game. And he's evolved into that, exactly what I knew he could be. And it's great to see. I think another one is to talk about Wilbur Griffiths, all the way from our under-8s, all the way through to men's football. I gave him a couple of chances last year. He wasn't ready. And this lad is starting every single game for me at right back. He is, any youth player, go and watch Wilbur, go and see how he talks to the management, see how he trains. And that's what a young player should do if you want to go up the levels. All these young players that have been at 10 clubs in 3 years don't want to know you.
I'll be asking questions of that. There's something wrong about.
Don't want to know you. And I made that mistake. I've made that mistake.
9 gaffers can't be wrong.
Mate, I've made that mistake. I thought I could be that gaffer because I'm a great man manager, and I've always thought, and I know now that's not happening anymore. I've learned. I'm 30 years old. I look like I'm about 50, but I'm 30. I'm 30 years old.
You're 30 years old?
I'm 30 years old.
Mate, you've had a tough paper round looking at you. Jesus Christ.
I know, mate. I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I told you it was tough.
Hey, look, we can be honest on this show, mate. I'll tell you
mate, I told you it was tough. I told you it was tough. That's why I've got a really good-looking missus, mate. I got her 10 years ago, and I just thought, quit whilst you're ahead, Dave. You already look about 30 and you're 20. Christ knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Just
you want to make sure you keep earning money, mate, so she keeps staying around. I'll tell you what.
You got it, mate.
She ain't looking at your boat race, I'll tell you. I'm only clowning with you. Right. I'm going to now pick out 5 or 6 teams, yeah? And I want 1-2 word answers.
Cool, that's hard for me.
Right.
Go on.
Bear in mind,
go.
The majority of the managers I know of listen to this podcast, and the other one. Right,
cool.
Let's start At Dorking Wanderers.
Professional.
Seaford Town.
Really good side.
Top form.
Mark Ball.
Forest Row.
East Grinstead Reserves.
Worthing United.
Bill the Man.
East Preston.
East Croydon.
Selsey.
Dan Pearce. Quality.
Reigate Priory.
No, nothing.
And then finally, Milo.
Hate them.
Do you know what? I love the fact that every time you said that, and the listeners won't know, you meant everything you said then. Do you know what I mean? I love that. It's going to be, I tell you what, if any rows come on this, it's nothing to do with me. Right now, let's get into it. I've got 3 minutes.
I'm telling you, Jesus Christ.
I tell you what, I'm not going to let you cut anything out of this.
No, mate, you can have the whole lot because it's what entertainment's all about. It's what entertainment's all about.
Right, I've got 3 minutes worth of questions for you, Dave.
Go on.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, mate.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Favourite alcoholic drink?
Spice rum.
If not football, what's your favourite sport?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to go with rugby.
Name 4 players that you're stranded on a desert island with that you need to get through a month. Who are you taking?
Jens Lehmann, Maldini, Zidane, Thierry Henry.
Right, now name 4 from your squad.
Cruel. That's really cruel. I've got to get a goalkeeper in there, and I've got 2 goalkeepers. This is horrible. Oh,
I think it's more horrible when I started asking you stuff about your inside of your club, and you're getting stuck on the questions. Go on.
Right, so I'm going to go with obviously. I'm going to go with the under-23s goalkeeper because I don't want to cause tension between my 2 goalkeepers. So I'm going to go with Charlie Roberts. I'm going with Ben Tomsit as my centre back. I'm going with Tikon Berzalov as my midfielder. And I'm going with Dimas Ramses as my attacker.
Love that. Who's the biggest joker in the changing room?
Who's the biggest joker in the changing room? I'm still getting to learn all of their characters still, to be fair. But I'm going to go with Josh Witters. He's a right princess, he is.
If you had to leave the managerial duties to one player, who would it be?
Oh, who would it be? I would give it to Ben Thompson.
Who's the one player you would keep well away from it?
Mesda. Well, Mesda, because I think if I left it to Mesda, I think we'd be getting a lot of free Ks.
What's your favourite away ground in the league?
My favourite away ground in the league. It's more because of the people, but it's going to be going to Oakwoods. Gilly and that up there are fantastic people. Always make you feel really welcome, and a cup of tea and a mug as soon as you walk in. They're great people, and I really enjoy going there.
If money budget were an option, who's the one player you take out of Div 1 for your side? To add to your side.
I'm taking back Tom Shelley from Seaford.
Love Tom. Used to play with his brothers.
Absolutely. I'd take Tom Shelley back. He's the one. I've got a real connection with Shells. He's a real good bloke. I still hate him because he went to Seaford, arsehole. But he'll come back to me one day.
And finally, what does the future hold for Montpellier Villa with David Baker?
Success.
Love that. Dave, you've been one of the most extraordinary guests I've ever had on this show. You have not asked for any questions up front. You have said that nothing is off the limits. You have told me you can ask about anything.
Yeah.
I'm not on this show to stitch people up or do that.
No.
I'm on this show to give teams exposure because, you know, that's just not what I'm in. You have been real, upfront, and meant it. Now, I still don't know whether you're a complete nutcase, evil genius type, deluded person. You might actually be onto something. And at the moment, I'm swinging to that way that you actually might be on something. You've been wonderful on the show. Before we go, Dave, firstly, can you, if people want to get hold of you, how can they get hold of you?
Look, our social platform is really active. All of them, Instagram, Twitter, because you can message them through Twitter or Instagram, Facebook. Message whatever way or means you can get hold of them, because behind the scenes we pick up most messages between us, whether it's from the website or the social media platform. So if anyone wants to get in touch, then they're more than welcome to via all of our different platforms that we have. And
finally, do you shout out a few of the unsung heroes at the club?
Well, first of all, Sarge and what he done prior to me coming back in, and also now he's picked up my club sec duties. You know, Pav, our kit man, who's fantastic. Connor, my assistant manager, who's been fantastic as well. Even to Paul Fowler, who's come back in the 23s, Kev Road, that's been the chairman since I came in charge. And just everybody that just does everything voluntary. JK especially, our social media guy, by the way. Wow, what a guy. Even if he is a brummie. And I've always, just from, he's from the Midlands, but no, he's absolutely sound. And the weird thing is, he's a Birmingham fan that has to hashtag up the Villa. How funny is that?
Absolutely love that.
But mate, there's so many. I'll be here all night. But no, honestly, we need more people though. We need more people. And if you want to get on this really exciting journey and to be involved in a club that's going to get bigger than Whitehall, Burgess Hill, Hayward Heath, then you better start getting in touch now.
Dave Baker, thanks for coming in the dugout. You've been great, pal.
Mate, you've been great. Top man.